great rock and roll band.
Oh, hello everyone. What a good way to start the morning with Rodent by Skinny Puppy. Nice, good classic there. How is everyone doing this morning? Sorry for the lack of show last night, but I was not. I turned in early. I wasn't all here. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, I was hoping very much to make an announcement yesterday, but wasn't able to. So I will announce it now. Today and tomorrow, the Buttsteak deal is 100% free if you've got an Amazon Kindle. So, yeah, if you want to read it for free, it's on Kindle right now for free. Absolutely free. And if you could do me a favor, spread the word, let people know it exists. And what would be even better is if you went into romance forums or romance discussion groups and just kind of dropped it in there for a little surprise, and just kind of troll them a bit. See if we can get any of them to actually open the damn thing. Um, so mainly that was the main bit of news that I wanted to get out was once again Richard Steele's latest foray into the romance genre is available for everyone free today and tomorrow. Um, if I bought it already, AI novels for the win. I still recommended a copy to my local book club. They like reading terrifying things anyways. Well, I wouldn't quite call it terrifying, bizarre, weird, humorous, absurd as hell, but I don't know if you'd call it terrifying per se. Um, Also, I wanted to remind everyone that we are going to be doing the exact same thing we did with the first Richard Steele book, which is leave a bizarre review. The more bizarre, the better, and we're going to read them on the air. And as I've said already, Ironcast Night has already left us an epic of a review to read. Um, so yeah, the more entertaining, the better. I mean, I figure we should get a good evening of laughs out of whatever reviews you guys can cook up. Um, oh, hey, JC, I just got a look at that page you sent for for Space Hunter Reiko, and actually, you know what? Let's share that while we're at it. Well, let me download that and I'll show that to everyone. I think that's screen friendly. Yeah, that's screen friendly. Everyone can get a look at that. Um, William Sova. I wrote a review for it, but they put a 7-day hold on it. Hold for it. Wait, why would they put a 7-day hold on a review? It's like, what the hell? Either you're gonna print the review, or you're not. I mean, it's not really all that confusing, right? Amazon's gotten really, really weird lately. Um, Give me a second. So anyway, in other news, just to show you projects are moving ahead, here is the latest page from JC on, yes, Space Hunter Reiko. And I really dig this one. You finally get a very clean look at Voluptua, Dr. Meyer's robot assistant slash lover. And, you know, I knew that the Gazanga Zapper was going to have quite an effect. The idea of it actually showing one's skeleton when you're hit with it, I like that. That was not in the script. I love that. So marvel at more of JC's kick-ass work, and hopefully that will be on the road soon too. We'll be able to start promoting that. Um, Hey, yeah, Ironcast. I saw that you wrote a review for Ridiculum. That was good. That was a good review. We really appreciated it. It's a lot harder to get people to actually review serious books. Um, we haven't quite done the hard push for promoting that one yet. We will be quite soon, but yeah, the more reviews on Ridiculum, the better. I mean, as far as you know, let's face it, Richard Steele is just fun. It's just fun on the side money. It entertains you guys. It's a little extra income for us, and it's thoroughly bizarre. But yeah, for the Immortal Classics series to really thrive and survive, we're going to need to get those reviews up, get as many people reviewing it, get the word out, because we would really like to make this like, geez, honestly, I'd like to see one come out every month if I could, um, just to continue getting all this good material out there. In the process of doing the slush reading, Kat and I have found some real gems that I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you. Okay, William Sofa, but then again, my review has a lawyer trying to contact Richard Steele. uh, Took me a while to get the design right for the robot, JC writes. Well, I really like the design on the robot. I mean, here, let me put that back up again. It really does have that perfect mix of 1950s weird, um, just retro futurism, but then it also has kind of the Sariyama gynoid look as well. So, yeah, you knocked it out of the park. I like it. And again, another character who is very T-shirt worthy. Also, I like the mad laughter face on Dr. Meyer there as his work is about to take shape, literally. But anyway, how are we all doing today? It is Tuesday. Yes. Yes, that is the day. Today is Tuesday. It's getting hard keeping track of days. In other news, I did have an extremely productive day yesterday working on Boobs of Steel. Um, as much as I'd like Siege Engine to be the next thing to come out, I think the first installment of Boobs of Steel will probably come first, just because so much of it's done already. Also, kind of a happy little accident. The Immortal Classics, where it's focused on space Amazons, has a nice crossover with a big chunk with the first installment of Boobs of Steel. So in a sense, they kind of go side by side. In a way, a lot of the stuff that would appear in that Amazon's anthology of classic pulp fiction would be mentioned in the first installment of Boobs of Steel. I'll be talking about how those pulp stories came about and how they influenced the culture. So what has your lawyer been trying to get a hold of Richard Steele about? You know, I mean, Steele's a little hard to talk to. I know. Uh, okay. I want to make the robot look sexy, but at the same time, very unerotic, uncanny valley looking. Well, it works. I like what you got there. It kind of, again, I'll flash that image up there. There is kind of the feel of a feminine body, but yet also an appliance. JEC, which definitely works, you know, on many levels. Oh man, I think I've already run out of material here to talk about. I thought I'd get on the air, ramble a bit, but I don't think I have much to say. Really, it was just kind of the big news. Is one, we've got JC with the latest page from Space Hunter Reiko, which I'm very happy about, and then two, um, the Buttsteak deal is going to be free for the next 2 days on Amazon. And I am low energy right now, if you haven't noticed. Very low energy. I haven't been sleeping well. I think I got up in the middle of the night and slept. I think I did some sleepwalking again. Whatever. So how are you doing on your Tuesday morning? Have you set fire to any houses yet? Have you smoked any crack? Have you engaged in arson? I hear that Los Angeles is currently undergoing a mass spate of people just randomly breaking into mini malls and ransacking them and looting. Any of that in your town? Same way, and apparently there's been a multi-day violent riot going on in Chicago for no reason other than they feel like it. Oh, William Silva says that the reason he's trying to get hold of Richard Steele is it has to do with a large sum of money that went missing from the estate of my previous review. Oh, at least I didn't sleepwalk stream again. Oh, that would have been interesting. Yeah, if I ever end up doing another sleepwalk stream where I end up actually I have been apparently working in my sleep though. There's been a few times where apparently I've gotten up in the middle of the night and have been working in my sleep, which is very odd. How weird do you want the review? Do you want it rambly, full of innuendo, both? Go to town, make it as entertaining as possible. Make it funny to you. Long as you're amused, I am happy. Remember, we're going to read these on the air, so go to town, go nuts. Um, Chicago, you just have gangs of teenagers wandering around terrorizing people and smashing stuff. So they're not even looting in Chicago. They're just roaming the streets and terrorizing people like it's the Warriors. Anime acid trip. All right, real talk, Ishii. Are Asian swords becoming overrated? They're literally everywhere, and that's become and that's coming from a weeb. I'm half tempted to give my Monster Hunter a Chinese Dao. I don't know. I think that swords from East Asia have always kind of had a special appeal, just because, well, one, us in the West, they're different from the traditional swords we're used to, i.e., primarily the swords popularized in all the Hollywood films, which are usually Renaissance era, or the all famous gladius from the Roman era. Um, but let's face it, the katana is a work of art. It itself is not just a sword; it's a work of art and a mastery of engineering. I mean, it just so the techniques that were hit upon to create the katana are just utterly amazing. So I understand why the katana would be so damn popular. As for the rest, like the Chinese Dao, um, it's different. I don't know. I've always thought the Chinese broadsword looked stylistically cool, but didn't really strike me as being the most functional of swords compared to some of the others out there. I'm not really the blade expert. I'm the wrong person to be talking about this. Do you have to put yourself to what's that? If you would like to come in and comment, that would be thoroughly awesome. I would love you to come in. I'm trying to get everyone to go out to their social media, especially romance groups. Like romance. What is it? Romance Twitter and romance BookTube and all that, and push the fact that the Buttsteak deal is free right now, today and tomorrow on Amazon Kindle. You don't have to get up if you're too tired. You can't sleep? That is right. Cat cannot sleep. William Silva says, reject the weeb sword, embrace the Chad Western blade. Well, again, that depends. I mean, Western swords. There's a lot of different takes on it. I mean, the whole era of like the epee and the rapier are pretty fucking awesome, and I do think that those aren't used enough. I will agree, but I'm sorry. The katana is a piece of art. Okay, here.
Okay.
I will be right back. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to get myself caffeine.
You get yourself caffeine.
Caffeine.
You get your caffeine on. You rock that monster. Or is this
Yeah.
coffee? Acid trip. Okay. Personally, for me, uh the sword is these or the weapon that your um protagonist carries is the soul of your protagonist. Somebody looks at that weapon and they instantly have an idea of the personality of that person. You know, think about it. If you see somebody walking around with a fucking claymore, you instantly are going to say, okay, that guy is a brute who just barges in and pushes his weight around. But if you see somebody with, like Ishi was mentioning, an epee, which is just basically a really 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 long triangular shaped needle, then now you get the idea of, okay, this person is probably, quick-witted, or at the very least, very self-assured, because those types of people tend to be the ones who carry the epes. This person probably is very agile. Excuse me, and maybe even in a rogue class. So I would say think about the personality of your character and what does their sword say about them. Um, a lot of Eastern swords, it's the same thing. The katana has the I don't want to say stigma, and I just woke up, so my vocabulary is not very good. But you see a katana and you instantly think, a lot of Toshiro Mifune, the sword master, the guy who says little and is probably not going to pull his sword at every opportunity. He is, the katana instantly speaks of, well, the samurai and being reserved, or at least the fantasy of the samurai being reserved, because quite frankly they weren't. But
Well, it's kind of the fantasy of the cowboy.
yeah, and it's the fantasy of the cowboy. Um so think about that. And I would say don't worry about what's become pastiche uh, or cliche or whatever, because after Conan the Barbarian, there was all sorts of you could hardly walk through any sort of fantasy setting without Conan style swords. Um, Swords in fantasy settings have trends. They have what's popular now and what's not. So I would say don't worry about it. Just tell a good story. But again, for me, the sword, you see the sword, and that's an instant indicator to not only your audience, but also to the people around your character, what type of personality this person has.
Um, I would say completely regardless. It had nothing to do with story.
Mm-hmm.
Epes are cool.
Epes are cool, but epes are um, uh, the image of the epee is usually some sort of rogue character, or maybe, and by rogue I mean the entire gamut, and that goes anywhere between being a D'Artagnan, Three Musketeers type character, to being some sort of thief, It can also, it can also mean that you're a noble. But the thing with the epee is that it takes a lot of skill to use. So your person has to be smart, they have to be agile, and they have to be quick-witted.
Explain to the audience what an epee is for those who don't know.
I did briefly, but the epee is that came from the era where swords were not slashing weapons, they were stabbing weapons. And specifically, the epee was the weapon of choice in the 1700s for young men in Europe to go dueling. In so many rich men's sons died from dueling with the epee that it was banned in Italy. And again, it's just a long needle. Now, unlike the foil and unlike the saber,
A rapier?
And then there's, well, the rapier's different. And there's two different types of sabers too, so it gets kind of confusing. But basically, unlike a lot of the other,
the cavalry saber and a
regular saber, unlike the other swords of that era that were for stabbing, things like the foil, things like the fencing saber, they were bendable, so it didn't actually cause as much damage because the blade would bend if it like hit a bone. The epee, on the other hand, is triangular shaped, so it would not bend, and they would stab the living fuck out of anything that you used it on. So
hey, why not?
epees hurt when you fence with them.
Well, that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah. No, I'm speaking from personal experience. I've fought somebody who used an epee and they fucking hurt.
So, okay, then what's the difference between okay, a rapier is edged, right?
Yeah, rapier is edged.
A foil is just basically a needle point, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, the other thing about blades that I always thought was thoroughly underrated. Now, it's easy to say that the katana, the daisho, and the was it the
well, the daisho is the set of the katana, the wakizashi, and sometimes includes the tanto. And God, I want a set. But I'm not gonna drop 20,000 on it.
The whole set, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's the romanticism and the artistry. It's just they're damn cool. But you know what I thought? What doesn't really get enough attention is its polar opposite. The katana is all about grace and style and form, and it's a scalpel. The complete opposite, the fucking gladius.
Oh, I love the gladius. I want
one. An edged truncheon.
Yeah.
It is basically a policeman's nightstick with an edge.
The gladius, historically speaking, as a weapon, has killed more people than any other weapon until the age of gunpowder.
Is that just because the Romans were really good at it?
Yeah, because the Romans were really good at it, and it became like the weapon for the longest time. In fact, what a lot of people don't know is that if you look at historical texts, it is there's a lot of evidence to support the idea that Excalibur, King Arthur's sword, is actually a gladius.
Explain what a gladius looks like for those who don't know.
I think it'd be easier if you pulled up a picture. Basically the gladius is 1.5 feet. It's the gladius.
Oh, fuck you. Look, this is the problem with it. I put in gladius, I get Star Citizen, and it's a spaceship. Fuck you. Fuck you. See, Google is not really useful.
No, put in sword. There you go. The gladius should be no longer than 1.5 feet if you're
that's what she said.
If you're getting into 2 feet, it's
not a gladius.
It can be, but they shouldn't be any longer than 2 feet. They should be 1.5 feet. And so basically, no longer than from your elbow to the tip of your finger. And it's supposed to be a weapon that's easy to carry, easy to stash on your person. Anybody, any idiot could wield it if need be.
Well, you swung it like a club.
Yeah, and you swung it like a club. You did not. There is no fencing with the gladius. There's tactics, but that's different. The gladius is an edged club, and quite frankly, it's beautiful in that respect.
Well, the thing to understand about the gladius, and when I call it an edged policeman's stick, nightstick, is because modern day riot control tactics are Roman warfare tactics.
Well, if you look at oh God, I'm not awake, so I'm trying to remember the particular. There's like 5 or 7 different specialties with Roman. I want to say military, but that doesn't even. That's not really Legion. Yeah, there's and the specific ones that patrolled the streets. And I'm sorry, people, I can't remember the name.
Oh, the Vigilantes.
The Vigilantes. Thank you.
I had a little monster left over in this from yesterday.
Yeah.
It just hit my brain. I'm okay now.
Okay. If you look at the garb and the kit for the Vigilantes, it's modern day riot gear, right down to the shape of the shield, because they have that rectangular shield that goes from the knees to your shoulder.
Well, our modern day riot tactics were specifically based on the gear and tactics of the Roman military.
That's my point. My point. You do a side-by-side comparison of modern day riot gear and the Vigilantes, and it's near identical.
And that's mainly because the Legion were basically facing riotous hordes coming at them. The barbarians weren't really good on tactics.
Well, no, the Vigilantes was for the people, because Rome has erupted in so many different riots, especially during I believe the Vigilantes was actually founded during Augustus's era, not Julius, because, well, people didn't need it when Julius was running things. But there was a point during Augustus's reign where Rome nearly collapsed. It nearly ceased to exist. And
was this the food shortage?
Part of it, yeah. And
you have entered History Talk with J.Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit, and Kat, the night editor and Wonderbreast woman.
Yeah, you're listening to barely coherent history.
Well, it's weird. This is a topic we were both very good on, and we never talk about it.
Well, we're talking about boobs.
Well, that too.
And Buttsteak.
The Romans liked tits too.
The Romans did like tits, and the Romans liked graffiti
and dick.
And I love the fact that there is modern day there's graffiti everywhere in ancient Rome. In fact, that's been a lot of how we found out how things happened back then, because the graffiti also is a time capsule of people commenting on what was going on, anywhere from politics to the fights that happened in the various arenas throughout the Roman Empire, to civil disputes. It's great.
Well, yeah, they had people whose job was literally to go around and graffiti walls.
Pretty much.
With memes.
Pretty much. I loved that.
And you know what? The Senate couldn't meme.
The Senate couldn't meme. The Senate could not meme.
So anyway.
Yes?
So yeah, I think the gladius does not get enough credit.
I agree.
especially since one, it is the utter inverse of the katana or say the rapier.
Hmm.
It really is a truncheon.
Well, I mean, there is a beauty to the gladius, but
Oh yeah,
it's not.
but not style in use.
It does not capture that um, fantasy element very well. It is so utilitarian. You can have epic looking gladiuses, but it's not going to be something that you're not gonna see Jedi walking around with light gladiuses.
How would that even work?
It's just short.
Well, no, the gladius were quite what. One of the key things was the weight of the gladius.
Hmm.
You needed the weight of the blade.
Well, now you're talking how it's used,
I mean,
but
theoretically, a lightsaber, the blade doesn't have any weight, right?
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, no, the thing with the gladius is that it is probably the most efficient sword ever created, and I do mean that. Efficient. Anybody can pick up a gladius and
Start wailing on someone.
and start wailing on people. And yes, like I said, it does not require that you go to a training school and learn fencing. And by fencing, I mean fencing as in the art of sword play. It doesn't require that you do that. It does require tactics, but that's different.
Well, didn't even the Romans have like essentially their centurion, their leader of the legion, would act like a coach and sit there and coach the legion as they fought, telling them to rotate.
I wouldn't really call it coaching. I would call it, yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose coaching is a good word for it. I think there's a better word. I'm just not thinking of it.
General.
But yeah, when you think of how the Legion would fight, especially if you had, if it's not just one Legionnaire on their own, yeah, you'd have your shield, and depending on which type of soldier you are, you get a different type of shield.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, this is why I was saying there's like 7 different types. There's like 5 or 7 different types of soldier.
I thought that was just historic. That over
Mhm.
time they started to learn that big
No,
door-shaped shield was the best.
no, it's not historic. It was form follows function. If you're out in, let's say, you know, out in Gaul, you're gonna have the smaller shields that. What did they have the roundish ones? I think they did, because they were lighter, easier to carry, and allowed your legs freedom of movement. And it also allowed you to come up under your shield to get the enemy. But the Vigilantes had that full body shield because they needed to, in close quarters with streets, basically create walls that were movable.
Shield wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
That blocked entire streets. So the different types had different types of shields, they had different types of armor, and they had different kits. There's like the Praetorian Guard. Yes, they would have their gladius, but you always saw them carrying those gigantic staves made out of bundles of reeds.
But wasn't that symbolic?
They were also very functional.
Really?
Yes. It's become symbolic because it was always associated
It's called
with
a
the guards.
fasci, by the way.
Okay, fasci, thank you. But no, those things fucking hurt. It's like getting hit with a
Educate me, please. I'm curious. I thought that was strictly symbolic, like
no,
a
no.
standard.
No, those things, the point of those is that they hurt like a mother, and they're probably going to break some bones, but you're not necessarily going to kill anybody. because
Right. Okay.
so if you're guarding the emperor or the emperor's family, and you want to keep your assassins alive so you can torture them later and find out where they came from and who hired them, or why they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, those guards, yes, it was a symbol, but again, it's a bundle of dried reeds.
Oh.
That's the size of a man, and then wielded like a quarterstaff. Think about that. You're gonna get whacked. You're not getting back up.
Okay, so being a woman who was always, it took me to get you interested in guns.
Lictors, thank you, Harble. Thank you. Thank you.
Read that whole one.
That was the lictors, not the Praetorians. Thank you. Julius Caesar famously once sentenced a citizen to being flogged with the rods for the first time in decades. Lictor unbind the rods. And yeah, and that was the other thing, is that you could unbind them so that you had lots of small rods, or you could whack people with the entire bunch. Thank you, Harble. I knew I was missing something.
And Gaul, like in Asterix and Obel, yes, actually precisely like.
Mm-hmm.
And points for knowing what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we lived in San Diego, we had neighbors who were from Germany who loved Asterix.
And yes.
They also liked what was the crocodile?
Snappy.
Snappy. Yeah. Which was kind of funny. All right, so you being a woman of blades.
Yes, and again, thank you for those who are fact checking me, because I know what I'm talking about. I'm just not awake. Okay.
What, aside from the Gladius, what else would you put on the list of either underrated or very cool, implements of death with an edge?
Well, okay. My favorite.
I mean, I know we want a Daisho set. That's just, but we don't also have a house. We don't have $50,000.
I want a Kopesh, man.
Okay, explain what. Okay, I'll get an image up for.
I really want a Kopesh. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So who invented the Kopesh?
They're Egyptian.
They're Egyptian.
No, that's not a Kopesh.
Is that a Kopesh?
No, that is. But it's gold. But actually, are they saying? Oh, it's a prop. Okay. The Kopesh is an Egyptian sword. It's curved.
How about that? You don't seem too happy with any of these.
No, actually, you clicked on a couple that I was fine with. It was just the ones that had the long handles. I wasn't.
Like this one?
No, that one's fine.
Okay, this one.
That one's fine. Okay. So the Kopesh is an Egyptian sword. It was primarily for chariot use, but you could use it in the streets. And it, sometimes they're single-edged, sometimes they're double-edged. It all depends. But what I loved about them is that you go riding in on your chariot, and because of that curved edge, either you could use the broad side of the curve to slice through your enemy, or you could use the interior sickle side of the edge and just basically cleave through people. It was great for decapitation. What?
Just look. There's no visual here. You don't get to see the look on her face when she said "great for decapitation."
Yeah,
there's kind of a happy, gleeful look on her face when she said that.
Yeah, Harble's absolutely correct. This is another weapon that comes out of farm equipment, and
aren't most?
Yeah, but it was originally for cutting reeds and then was developed into a weapon. I saw as far as that goes, I saw a wonderful show. I'm trying to remember what it was called, where they went through a whole mess of Chinese farm equipment, and it was an actual blacksmith. So he had his shop, and he was modifying Chinese farm equipment into the weapons that we know today that the Chinese used. And he showed, all you have to do is modify this, and now you have this weapon. And that was so fascinating because so many times we hear, oh, this was developed from this, from this farm equipment or that farm equipment. It's like, well, what did it came from? That some of them you can't tell anymore what did it come from. And so that was neat watching him actually do it in his shop. So
Well, Martha has a very, very all-important question here.
okay. Favorite Warhammer or poleaxe? That's a good question.
Well, in video games, it tends to be the Warhammer.
Well, and then the other question is what era of these weapons are you talking? And and am I going up against somebody who's in armor or not? Actually, I'm gonna tend towards the Warhammer. I used to think, the poleaxe would be the best, but I've been watching a lot of historical historians who are also into SCA, and them doing a lot of demonstrations of different weapons based on historical text, not what we think, but what was actually written down at the time, and doing experiments to say, okay, this text says XYZ. And I would actually go more for the Warhammer.
Well, the thing with pole arms that we never get from video games or D&D was that it has a minimum range, and once you step inside that range, it's worthless.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to use.
Well, they're not really meant to be used by themselves. They're meant to be used with a whole mess of other people who all have pole arms too. And then you're supposed to have other people peppered within with smaller weapons, like a gladius, to get those, those few stragglers that happen to get within the range that the pole arms are useless.
I always wanted to be able to, in either a video game or in an RPG, fucking be able to do the, okay, well, they've got a pole arm. I run within a foot's distance of the person. Now they can't do anything, and I'm going to knife them. But, of course, you're not allowed to.
Like, oh, they got a pole arm. I'm like, no. That and pole arms are not weighted. Okay. Western pole arms, I have to be specific, are not weighted for you to do anything other than put it in front of you and stab whatever's there.
Well, aren't they all based on essentially the phalanx?
Yeah, exactly.
Explain a phalanx.
5?
It number doesn't really matter. Line of guys with a certain arrangement of spears
and shields with a couple of people peppered within to stabby anybody that gets within the pole arms.
And it's death on cavalry.
Yeah. Oh, it's hell on cavalry.
Okay, let's post a picture of pole arms for those. Now, if we had a bigger house, would you do that to a wall? I mean, make it look nicer, of course.
My shop, I would.
I'm still surprised your dirk isn't on the wall.
I don't know. I like my dirk, but it doesn't have an edge. And okay. Uh when I when I was in high school, and I'm not kidding here, when I was in high school, how I would deal with tension is I would flip my dirk in the air and try to catch it by the handle without looking at it. And I got really good at doing that. So it's a way for me to cut tension. So if it's on the wall, I can't do that.
Well, that's a new reason. The old reason you used to give was you would refuse to put anything on the wall that you couldn't pull down and use to kill a person who broke in.
Oh, that's true. That is true too. But yeah, no. I don't know. I was a little embarrassed by that. I mean, that just sounds so corny. It's like, it's like, as a teenager, I'd flip knives. It's like, no, I'm not kidding. I actually did with this
Well,
one.
but the dirk didn't have really an edge.
No, I didn't have any edge, but I learned how to flip knives doing it that way.
Yeah, you also seem to have an uncanny ability to catch things when they're thrown at you at random.
Well, like I said, I would practice flipping the dirk without looking at it. I'd use just peripheral vision. I used to do that with tennis balls too. So yeah, if I'm looking dead at something, it's harder for me to catch than using my peripheral vision. Oh, acid trip. I have many knives. My mom, in fact, her last visit brought back all of my knives that I had left at her house. So,
Man, she doesn't like that machete.
my mom?
Yeah.
No.
She really. Why just that machete? Other than it's lethal.
It's lethal?
Yeah, but you also got a fucking axe under the bed.
She doesn't know that.
Oh, okay.
I have a katana machete. I know that seems kind of an oxymoron, doesn't it? But it's basically a sharpened piece of steel. That is what it is in the vague shape of a katana. The cool thing is that these were the swords that when the word came at Camp Pendleton that all the Marines were shipping out to Afghanistan, they all ran to the local knife shops and bought these things because they're very, very lightweight, very, very slim, and they're made for you to store down your spine like blade. And they could put them under their kits. And yeah, this thing is fucking lethal. I need to make a better shield for it out of leather because the
Not shield, sheath.
Sheath, thank you.
Oh yeah, because it's cutting through the nylon sheath.
Yeah, it sliced through its own sheath,
which in itself is kind of amusing.
Neostar, have you ever played Soul Calibur? At least one polearm fighter, one bow staff fighter, and a Warhammer fighter. I like Soul Calibur.
We both played Ivy just because, well, it was Ivy.
It's Ivy.
I mean, you got to watch Ivy.
Yeah.
Of course, what was the other character I'd play? The dude.
Voldo.
Voldo?
Voldo.
Was
well, I liked Voldo. So.
No, I don't remember which one I played.
Voldo was the dude who had the
blindfold?
Yeah, the blindfold.
He was the Dalzim of the game?
Yeah.
Points to anyone who catches that. It's a bit generational. Did they keep Dalzim in Street Fighter after that? After Street Fighter 2, or did he go?
To be honest, I don't know. My love went to Darkstalkers at that point, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain that one.
What, Darkstalkers?
No, why your love went to Darkstalkers?
Mainly because I wasn't going to the arcades anymore, because reasons. It would get too long for me to explain, and it would be boring for those who don't know me. But basically, I don't know. I wasn't playing Street Fighter anymore after 2 because I didn't have access to it. And I was getting into other games like Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct. You know, the because it's the 90s, it's dark, it's edgy, it's gritty. And then I fell in love with Darkstalkers. And since Darkstalkers is a Capcom product too, you know, it's like, no, my love went to Darkstalkers.
But you know, Darkstalkers doesn't have a cool techno song like Mortal Kombat.
That's true. But Mortal Kombat doesn't have Jeddah.
True, true. Oh, here we go.
I mean, come on. This is a guy who cuts his head off at you as a weapon and then grows it back. But if you had Mortal Kombat graphics, would that not be the most awesome thing?
You're gonna have to show. I've actually never really played the game, so you're gonna have to show me that.
Yeah, a lot of Jeddah's weapons involve him dismembering himself at you.
I'll show you. I'll rip my head off and throw it at you, motherfucker.
No, he doesn't throw it at you. He launches it at you with the gout of blood basically cannonballing it at you.
Why don't you like Tokyo Shock movies more? I mean, that's like straight out of a Tokyo Shock film.
Because there's that fine line between this is fun and there's too much blood on the screen. I don't care anymore.
I mean, there's a scene in Tokyo Gore Police where a guy is able to actually hover with the blood shooting out of his legs or his decapitated knees.
Yes, but it's ugly.
Oh, okay. Well, wait. But Jeddah launching his head with like a rocket.
You look at Jeddah, and then you look at what some of these Tokyo Shock monsters look like.
Oh, well, yeah, they look monster. Yeah, they look hideous.
Yes, they're hideous. Jeddah is not hideous. Jeddah, you know, Jeddah is a vampire lord with scythes all over him. He has scythes for wings. I mean, tell me that's not badass.
So you got another question here for you.
Machete, the Dominican saber? No. It's
here's a Dominican saber.
Yeah. Well,
so what would be the advantage of that tip other than it's a good pig sticker?
Well, you're supposed to be on a horse.
Hence the curve. Okay. Yeah. It's a cavalry blade.
Yeah, that's a cavalry saber.
Man, you know a lot more about blades than I thought. I mean, we never get you started on blades enough. Usually the conversation either comes to, I really like that machete, my mom hates it, or, you know, I really, really love that K-bar you bought me.
Well, I know enough to be dangerous, but I also know enough to know that if I got into a conversation with somebody that knows more than me, I wouldn't talk much. So, and that I get things confused. Jeddah is essentially Looney Tunes mixed with Mortal Kombat. Indeed. Actually, I love the Darkstalkers series because it is a Looney Tunes reimagining of all sorts of classic monsters and things. And you know, the fact that El Zombie, he goes by a different name in the Japanese version.
El Zombo?
El Zombie.
Rob Zombie?
He's not Rob Zombie. He actually was originally, his original concept was not Leiden, the other.
Sid Vicious?
Yeah, he was based on Sid Vicious. He's an undead Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious couldn't fight for shit.
No, but
Freddie Mercury kicked his ass.
Yes, indeed.
True story.
This is why Freddie's awesome.
So should we call it a morning and get on with your morning walk? And
probably. You want to join me?
Yes, I do. Yes, I in fact do. But before we do, one.
Yes.
What do you think? So I mean,
I love it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I like that when he zaps her, you see the skeleton.
Yeah. I agree.
And second, promote to the audience that boobs of, or not boobs of steel, Jesus, The Buttsteak deal will be free for today and tomorrow, and that they should go to all of their social media and remind everyone that it's free.
Well, you just did it.
No, but you do it in a sexy voice.
Hello, everyone. Did you wake up this morning and think, there's not enough Buttsteak in my life? Well, you know what? Yeah, Richard Steele has you covered. You can now, today and tomorrow, for a limited time, get your own copy of The Buttsteak Deal and Other Stories, a gripping, heart-roaming romance between a woman, her boss, and Captain Morgan.
and her career as a lit RPG harem writer.
Yes.
Honest. All right. Well, thank you for joining. And
Plus,
seriously,
there's a kaiju.
that's a different story, but yes, that's in there too. But no, seriously, get the word out there. If you can hashtag it on Twitter, that's the best way to go.
Thank you, everyone.